So it's autumn in the garden, and there's so many things that you're doing outside that sometimes lunch and even dinner, supper can be a little bit of a kind of hardship to think, what am I going to cook? So what I'm going to share with you is something from the garden, which is super easy to make, a very hearty soup that requires minimal cooking, which is perfect for me when I'm out in the garden at this time of year, trying to make new borders and all sorts of things. And it has 3 simple ingredients along with some vegetable stock. So what I've got is a potimarron. This is a little pumpkin, if you like, but the skin is edible, which is really important. Some garlic cloves and some carrots. And this is the basis for the soup we're going to make. What I like to do is roast all of this first of all, and then blend it and add it to my stock. So I've got a deep tray. What I'm going to do is cut the pot marron in half. You can see once you've done that, it has a chamber inside, which is all seed that we don't want. So what I'm going to do, first of all, remove the stalk, and then with a spoon, just dig out all of that internal seed. That can go straight into the compost. Now, once you've got it out, it's a little bit stringy if I'm honest. So once you've got it out, you'll be left with a cavity like that. Put those into the baking tray, cavity up. So that's my 2 halves, cavity up there. That is largely ready for the compost soup. What I'm going to do with my carrots is just chop the end off. You don't have to actually. If you leave the end on, it gives it a slightly earthier flavour. Chop those off, put those in. And then with my garlics, and this is a really good recipe for kind of quick, no fuss. What I do is peel the skin off, leave the garlic clove whole, and put 2 garlic cloves in each half. Got all the skin off, that's all in there. Now I've got here some home dried sage. You can use sage, rosemary or thyme. Just sprinkle a bit into the insides of those cavities and then drizzle all of that over with some olive oil. That is going to now cook in the oven at about 180 for an hour and a half until it's all nicely roasted down and the tops of these pumpkins are just beginning to carbonize a little bit, so it's a little bit burnt in fact on the top, and that's really useful for the flavour of the soup. At this stage, I'm not putting any salt and pepper. That's going to go in the oven, and then once it's cooked, we'll be on to the second stage. And so you can see that is the roasted vegetables now out of the oven, and I have slightly charred them on top, which I really like for the flavour. And with that, I've got about a litre's worth of vegetable stock here and a trusty blender, which is what you need. Now you can do this with one of those hand blenders in the saucepan or like this. And all you have to do is pop the vegetables into the blender. This is probably where it won't work in a true style. And you'll find that it's now really nicely soft. So I'm going to put in 2 carrots and a section of that with a little bit of the vegetable stock. Now that just stops it from sticking, and it is quite noisy, so I'm going to blend all of this down and pop it into the saucepan. Now you can see with the last of that blended, there's quite a variable mix, a bit stodgy and a bit runny. Now the best thing to do first of all is to just stir that around to make sure that it's all blended nicely. And then what I tend to do is have a little bit of water in that blender with the taste in it, if you like, in case I want to make it any thinner. And the other thing I'm going to do is just now heat it back up on the stove to add the seasoning, the salt and the pepper, to make sure that it tastes good. Put that back on the heat and just let that come to temperature. And I can already tell, I like it quite thick and chunky, but I can already tell it needs just a little bit of extra liquid there, just to make it more soup-like. And just blend that through. And you can see that basically it's a really good way of using these potimarron pumpkins where you can eat the skin as well. The char grilling really adds a depth of flavour. I think the carrot's really useful, but if you haven't got carrots, it's not essential. The garlic's really good, and then the thyme, the mint or the sage really helps. I've got a good pinch of salt to that to bring out the flavour. And a little grind of pepper, and then that is pretty much good to go. So if I just lean that to you, you can see it's quite a nice thick soup. And that can be eaten straight away, or it can be left in the fridge for a couple of days, and you can also freeze it. So if you've got a glut, you can really cook it down and make really good soup that you can have all the way through winter.